What's up, Internet? My name is Short of the Max Extreme.
And I'm Ghost Hunter Dave.
And this is IMPERIUS REX. Today, we'll be reviewing Grant Morrison's Multiversity.
Welcome back, comic book fans, as we wind down the final episode of our three-part Grant Morrison Ocular Phantasmagoria. Previously, we explored some events leading up to Multiversity with Seven Soldiers and Final Crisis, but now with an hour and a 12-pack under our belt, it's time to dive into the main event. If you're just joining us now, you may be wondering, who's this guy? Well, think of me as Dave from the future, or Monitor Dave, if we're keeping with the lingo, dropping in occasionally to keep this show running smoothly. I popped in more during the first episode as we were still getting warmed up, but I was able to lay pretty low and let the guys just take it away during the second. Today, however, and after that 12-pack, let's just say they may have gotten a little too warmed up, if you catch my drift.
Multiversity!
Multiversity. The newest book by Grant Morrison at this point. I don't think he's written anything since.
Nope.
It's a big deal. It's been in the works for a while. And it's more of the same. But it's good. It's a good same.
I feel like it's a very nice blend of what he did in Seven Soldiers and in Final Crisis.
It is. It's kind of a pared down Seven Soldiers.
Yeah.
With like a Final Crisis bookend.
Yeah. It's 9 issues total, with number 1 and 2 being the bookends.
Yeah, okay. So, alright. All my notes are about Final Crisis, because that's really, that's the thing that I need the most help trying to put into words.
There's a new all-encompassing villain, as it was in Final Crisis, called the Gentry, which is essentially this group of horrific beings, and they're just trying to eat and destroy all thoughts in general.
It's a typical Grant Morrison villain.
They want to...
Evil corporation entity wants to destroy free will and enslave mankind.
They want to... aren't they just
negativity, pretty much? They're just bad vibes, man.
Exactly what it is. I have here... They're out to seize ownership of every mind in existence and control thoughts and all stories.
Yep. So, some parallels could be made here to the comic book industry.
Yes.
Which I feel like Morrison, it's really the only reason he writes right now is to...
Especially in his later works. And I wanted to even say that about Final Crisis, too. Because,
yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yep. The one thing we didn't talk for 10 minutes about, the evil monitor, is very much a little bit of a facsimile for, what is it, the comic book editors?
Yeah, I almost think he thinks all the monitors is like a dig at DC editorial. Yeah. Or just editorial in general.
Yeah, and there's websites dedicated to thorough examination of this, and they're fantastic. If that's your bag. Yeah. I read them all. What else am I going to do?
I read some.
Hang out with my wife and kids?
No. You're going to hang out with me, drink beer, and talk about bullshit.
Yes. Things that really matter in life. I'm just kidding. Yeah, just kidding. But yeah. As his career progressed, his stuff... I mean, he's always got a social commentary to him. He's a punk rocker by heart, so he's always, attacking the man.
Yep.
And right now, the man happens to be the people that are paying him the big bucks.
Yeah.
But he's doing it. I mean, they gotta know.
Well, yeah.
I mean, they don't give a shit. But everything he's writing is kind of a fuck you to the industry. It
is.
You're wrecking these characters. You're commercializing. He has a whole book on it. Somewhere. It's over there, I guess. Nope, here it is.
Super Guides.
Great book. Really good. It's a real book. There's no pictures or anything. And he wrote this, and it's basically the entire history of comic books, superhero comics in particular. about how, Marvel, DC superheroes are basically like our version of the Greek and Roman gods of like Zeus and all those. And like, our culture is built on them. It's a way to establish morals and people to look up to and just a better version of humanity. What you should strive to be.
Yeah.
And I think he's just kind of fed up at this point in his career with more of the same. Like, let's reboot the universe again. Let's do this all over again. Let's see how many t-shirts we can make with the Superman emblem. I'll jump in here too, as my past counterpart was having some trouble formulating a coherent thought. Morrison also isn't shy about dissecting the commercialization of the superheroes that he's grown up with. In an earlier work he did during his Action Comics run, he has Superman square off against a futuristic Super Doomsday, in which the villain's origin is explained as he was a pure and inspiring figure created by scientists who, in desperation, sold him to a corporation that turned him into a violent, troubled, faceless anti-hero, to quote, a global marketing icon. He even goes on to equate the Superman S symbol as the $sign. Nothing too subtle there, huh?
Him being as meta as he usually is, I feel like this is probably the most meta thing that I can recall offhand. Flex Mentala was pretty meta.
Yeah, Flex is up in there. And that's a great one too.
If we want to get into it, the bookends are the main story here. Even though all of the rest of the 7 issues in between, sandwiched in between these bookends, are all standalone issues, they work together more so than they do, I feel like, in Seven Soldiers, because they are all more connected.
Yeah.
Through an interesting way, through comic books. Mm-hmm. And that was like a huge thread throughout the entire book, that everybody's comic book is somebody else's reality. And on the flip side of that, it's exactly the opposite.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those pictures where, like, it's a kid looking at a book, and on the book is a kid looking at a book, and on that book is a kid looking at a book, where we're the last version, or are we?
Yeah.
Someone looking at us.
Yeah.
Is our reality a comic book? But we're looking at someone, and they're looking at someone, and they're looking at someone. It just goes deeper and deeper and deeper down. Every world is somebody else's fiction.
Yeah. And if anyone is ever curious about how the multiverse works, I feel like Grant Morrison did it best with the map of the multiverse that is included in this.
It's never been done before. Nobody thought to make a full-on diagram of how this thing works. And he did this brilliant map that, I think they've kind of adopted into the DC continuity now.
Sure.
Hey guys, Morrison's over there doing his own weird thing, but have you seen this map he came up with? We gotta use it.
Yeah.
It's this is doing our work for us.
Yeah.
There's years of stories here.
It's had to take forever to figure this thing out, because he includes almost everything. The Speed Force, New Genesis, Apocalypse, any heaven or hell dimension, the Bleed, all 52 universes, the center of the universe, all of it is included in one map.
He's been working on this for years. And I read somewhere that he had this big idea, and he put a little bit of it into All-Star Superman, a little bit more into Seven Soldiers, and a little bit into Final Crisis, and a little bit into Multiversity. And I'm sure there's still a little bit to go around for what he's got left. Yeah. But it's not something that he just whipped up. All this is stuff that he's been kicking around in his head for quite a while.
Yeah.
So I think you started telling a synopsis, and then I interrupted you, but essentially the Gentry, this evil parasitic organism is feeding. What are they doing?
What are they doing? They're trying to take ownership of every mind in existence, and that spans all across all universes, all parallel dimensions, all that stuff. And so, what Grant Morrison does here, even though. I just read Convergence, so I'm kind of mixing up what's going on.
Bad choice.
I did a bad thing and just read a bunch of event books back to back to back. But he takes a bunch of somewhat unused characters and creates almost his own Justice League from a bunch of parallel dimensions or multiple Earths.
He kind of picks and chooses who he thought would be cool to see all together.
And one of them is the Calvin Ellis, the Superman of some Earth, but the black
Earth 2?
Yeah, I think it is Earth 2. And he's the black Superman who's also the President of the United States.
He's a very direct model of Barack Obama.
Yep. Captain Carrot is another one.
Yeah.
He was brought back in Final Crisis, by the way.
In one panel.
Yep. It doesn't matter. He's still there. The Marvel family ties heavily into this. Even though they're not... I don't think they're in the actual Justice League, quote, team.
Yeah. It's a weird collection of folks here because none of them are anyone you'd really recognize.
No.
There's like Aboriginal Thor type of character. Yeah. There's like a future Batman. There's a female Aquaman.
Yeah.
Captain Carrot. Always
a
welcome. Pleasure.
Yeah.
Mary Marvel. Of some kind of Flash. And a Green Lantern type of guy.
Yep.
And I mean, none of these guys are super prevalent in it either, but they kind of make up the team at the end, along with everybody else in the universe. But yeah, kind of a weird hodgepodge of characters there.
The first issue is kind of hard to get into because it introduces Nix Wotan, who is...
Who's Nix Wotan?
He is a Monitor, and he is the youngest Monitor, and he was...
Was he the son of the first Monitor who went evil?
I don't know if it was the first one, but for like...
Mandrak? Is that the evil Monitor?
Mandrak is the evil Monitor, but that's not...
He's a descendant of the originals.
Yeah.
Young black kid, an everyman who's like a Monitor.
People say that in Final Crisis... That's Grant Morrison in a fiction suit.
Oh yeah, God, he loves his fiction suits too.
But anyway, from the first issue, kind of gets off kind of rough because it introduces him, and which if you read Final Crisis recently, you'll see that he's prevalent in that, and you'll realize that he is kind of where he started at the end of Final Crisis. He's banished to the real world.
Is he on our Earth?
He's on, like, the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Earth Prime, or Earth Zero, or whatever it is.
Is that the Earth, the Ultra Comics?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
And so he's introduced, and he immediately becomes, like, Mandrak.
Yeah, he gets kind of corrupted by the Gentry.
Yeah.
And becomes one of their big...
He becomes the
their heavy hitter.
Yeah. The vampiric Monitor that you see from Final Crisis.
Mm-hmm. Well, after Nix gets corrupted, Calvin Ellis goes to the Ossuary of Worlds.
Orrery of
Worlds. So, what's an ossuary? Something with birds?
Probably.
Birdcage. Picture Jurassic Park 3, where they're the pterodactyls. I'm going to call that an ossuary. It might not be. Maybe I'm thinking ostrich.
That's a bird.
Anyway,
whatever we have.
Yes, they get to where the Monitors hung out, where they get to observe all the worlds, make sure they're all cool. They're there. The Gentry is kind of coming at them from the bleed from all the universes, and he just pulls together all the heroes to stop this. And then from there, they go into all these #1 issues, which take place on each of these worlds that are within the 52 worlds of the DC continuity.
The first one being the Society of Superheroes, featuring Doc Fate and
SOS. A reoccurring motif throughout the entire book, and in Final Crisis too. Morrison has like an obsession with just the term SOS. And I keep thinking, is there some deeper meaning to this? I don't know what it is.
And from there you meet the Immortal Man, which I just found out who it was. And I want to say it's Anthro. Because he was...
Really? I thought it was Vandal Savage at first. It's like an alternate take, but Vandal Savage is the villain in this book.
Yeah.
So it's not Vandal Savage.
No. You see him, it's very like a nice pulpy adventure.
It is. It could fit right into like the Shadow and the Phantom and Doc Savage. It's like in that time period. It's a world, a universe still in that era.
Yeah. And this is actually
biplanes and blimps.
Oh yeah, gotta get those blimps.
And treasure hunting.
I think here's a double blimp plane in
double
this.
blimp.
a bi-blimp, if you will.
A world with so many blimps, they double up on them.
And this one is actually cool because it's a merging of Earth 20, which is the one with Doc Fate in it, and Earth 40, which is the one with Vandal Savage in it. And every few thousand years, they pass
through, like an eclipse or something.
Yeah, exactly like that.
So that's a good one. It's a good read. Mm-hmm. All of these most of them make you want more, which I think is his pitch. Like, it's always the Morrison pitch. Like, hey, guys, here's some characters. You want to do anything else with them?
Yeah.
They're all like, no, Grant, we're good. It's like, oh.
The next one is The Just, which I want to say is probably my least favorite one.
I'd agree.
But I love the art in it.
It's kind of a photorealistic, but still looks drawn type of thing.
It's kind of like the descendants of past superheroes are now like these young adult,
basically
quote, superheroes.
Their parents defeated evil.
Yeah.
And they have nothing to do. They're the next generation of like privileged celebrity superheroes. Yeah. And they're all like early 20s. They're all a bunch of like Miley Cyruses and stuff like that. So they're just lounging around, having parties. It is a bunch of bullshit. They're disgusting people. Like, you don't like them. They're all just twerps and nothing really happens in it. Yeah. It's if you're gonna skip any, you could skip this one pretty easily. Yeah,
there's some stuff that ties it into the rest of it, but it's not really much besides the Ultra Comics thread that goes through all this.
Yeah, it was a weird one to throw in so early because it's not good.
Yeah, and
I mean it's original, but it didn't need to be a whole issue. Like, I don't know. It's a cool idea, but once you get past the initial shock of like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if if all these heroes died and then their kids had nothing to do? It's like, well, what happens? Well, they don't really do anything.
They're just dicks and to each other, pretty much.
Yeah.
The next one we're just going to move on is, I know your favorite. It's the Pax Americana issue. And this one is the one where Grant Morrison takes all of the Charlton Comics characters that are now, I think, on Earth 4, that were supposed to be in Watchmen, and puts them in his own story inside this.
So Morrison basically does Alan Moore's Watchmen using the characters that Alan Moore wanted to use.
Yeah.
As just one little, like, fuck you. Nah, we're cool. But yeah, he does it, and he does it in the style of Watchmen, which, if you've read Watchmen, great book. You read it again, you pick up on just how intricately it is plotted out, and how every panel is intentional. You know, like, this panel is a mirror of this panel. Mm-hmm. And the whole book is plotted like that. And it's a 12-issue series, and Morrison does that really, really well in one issue. Yeah. Like, he captures the essence of Watchmen in one issue. Mm-hmm. And God, is this dense. Like, I could talk for an hour on this one issue. Yeah. There's so much to it. Mm-hmm. So, we gotta move this along, but Pax Americana, it's
a statement to what comics can be.
Yes.
Because it does everything that even Alan Moore loves about comic books, that you can only do in comic books.
Yeah, but he would never admit.
He would never admit.
But it is good, and the character of Captain Atom shows up in the Superman Beyond in Final Crisis. Mm-hmm. He's the Superman facsimile of this world. Yep. Every world has a Superman, and that's him in this, and he's very much just Dr. Manhattan.
Oh yeah, for sure. This issue is, as you said, like the most dense, and it probably takes more rereads than all the other ones just to get it down pat.
To get the story out of it, it takes a couple reads and some references. Like,
Yeah.
you need to have some annotations.
And there's articles on the internet that goes into huge detail just about this issue alone.
Yeah.
It's pretty great. It's a feat.
Oh, yeah. It is so far above anything else in this book.
I agree.
It's so good. And then it follows up with a really fun issue.
Yeah, actually, my favorite issue, because I'm a huge fan of Captain Marvel and the Marvel family, and the next one is New Thunderworld Adventures, where Dr. Savannah uses the magic from the Rock of Eternity and the wizard's Shazam to insert another day into the week called Savannah Day or something like that. Just because, because he's an evil dick.
And that's how he's going to beat Captain Marvel, with that extra day.
Yeah, and he makes his own team of Marvel people with just some schlubs off the street, and they have to shout out Savannah to get, their powers and stuff. This issue is super fun. It's easily accessible for anybody.
Briskly paced.
It's got obscure idea, but it's really a fun idea.
Yep.
Really easy to pick up. It's drawn by Cameron Stewart, who also collaborates with Grant Morrison quite often in other past works. And I think this issue actually won an Eisner Award for being the best issue of the year. This one did. But yeah, I love it. It's great. It's bright and colorful. It's happy.
Yep.
It's
just classic comic book fun.
It is. Which I want comics to come back towards more, because they've been dark and gloomy for so long.
Oh, and he's a big champion of that too. Oh, yeah. He wants it to be as fun and uplifting and inspiring as possible.
This reminded me a lot of some of All-Star Superman a little bit.
Yeah.
Where it's just bright and happy and chipper, but I'm not going to go on forever about it.
All right. Well, I held my tongue on Pax Americana. We can, now that we're on the point of the show, let's wrap this up as quick as possible.
The next one is called Maps and Legends, where it features the miniature universe of all these heroes and stuff.
Yeah, this one was weird. This one was the future Batman. It goes into the Kirby universe with Commandy, and there's even a moment where they find out the Darkseid has been reawakened.
Yep.
Even though this takes place pretty much right after Final Crisis, but I think that's kind of Grant's whole, hey, guess what? Editors want Darkseid, so hey, he's back,
But this one, even though it's bizarre, it gives a good, I'm just looking now, it gives a good follow through of everything that catch you up to speed. Pretty much through all the history of DC, especially if you want to learn about the multiverse stuff.
Oh yeah, yep. This is the guidebook issue, where it sets up all that, and then it goes in
to the guidebook.
Yeah, page by page, it tells every Earth of the 52 Earths.
Yeah, 0 through 52.
And it's interesting. There's a Marvel Earth. Yep. They don't call it Marvel, obviously, but it's Marvel. And then there's the Ultimate Marvel.
Yeah.
Which is the next Earth. Which is so funny. They're it's the more updated, more extreme, realistic version of that one.
Yeah, it is.
And what's really funny is, I think in the cataclysm that's happening here, that Ultimate version is destroyed, which during Secret Wars, in Marvel's ball pen, the Ultimate Universe just got destroyed. So, did he know that was coming and make a little meta commentary on it, or what? But ahead of the curve.
This issue is very informational, just to get multiversity. It explains a lot in a small amount of time.
Yeah, you kind of skim through it, and then after you finish the book, you kind of go back and be like, oh, yeah, now I get it.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
The next one is a fun one, too. It's called The Mastermen, where it's the Superman issue where he lands in Nazi Germany and is raised by Adolf Hitler.
Which opens with Hitler just taking a huge shit.
Taking a dump. But this one is drawn by Jim Lee.
Strange choice for this.
I thought so too.
I don't know. The whole issue is kind of weird, where it's these are Nazi superheroes.
Yeah.
And are we supposed to kind of feel for him? Are we supposed to root him on at all? And Superman is having a kind of a crisis of faith in it, essentially. He doesn't want to be doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Am I doing the wrong thing? It's interesting. It's not one of my favorite, but it's just kind of weird.
I agree. I don't hate it.
No.
But it was good.
And they reference this a lot in Superman Beyond too, because this Nazi Superman is one of the ones that joins Superman in Final Crisis.
Yeah.
And they reference him losing Supergirl.
Yeah.
In it quite a bit too.
Yeah.
Which happens in this, I think.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, so much of this ties into Final Crisis.
Yeah.
Reading this as like, I think that kind of rings a bell, and then I read Final Crisis again, and it's like, oh my god, yeah, it's a direct sequel to it.
Even if it's not a direct sequel, it's just supplemental information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's a direct sequel.
Some may say supplemental information. The next one is the most
direct
meta comic throughout the whole thing, called Ultra Comics. This is the one based in the real world, and this is the one where the storyline is that everybody in these single issues are reading this book. And you'll see that a lot. Because the Gentry created this book.
So, this cover had to be done months prior.
Yeah.
Because they constantly feature it from, like, 6, 7 issues before this.
Yeah.
I read it once, wasn't a huge fan, and then read it again the next day and liked it a little more. It's like a time loop. But this whole comic, like, when you get to the end, you go back to the beginning. And then you read it again, and you get to the end, and you wind up back at the beginning. And it's just the heroic figure who is fighting the villains, and he gets defeated. But in that defeat, he's able to be, like, reborn at the beginning, and he goes through it again. He just can't escape that fate.
The first time I read this one, I really liked it, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
It's a dark issue.
Yeah, it is. But the whole time, the guy, Ultra, is, like, always talking to the reader.
Yeah.
Always. Like, don't turn the next page because, like, this is going to be bad for your health or whatever. Like,
yeah.
It's pretty fun. And this is when the Gentry comes back in it as well, as you actually see him in, like, physical form near the end of this one. Well, at least one of the Gentry monsters, anyway.
Oh, yeah.
The eyeball with the bat wings.
They're the weirdest designed characters.
It says change battery pack.
Oh boy. Well, if that isn't 5-minute warning, I don't know what is. Poor planning and foolhardy execution left us with only one camera battery from here on in, so come on, squeeze in, pretend like you like each other.
Well, shut up. We are at the last issue of Multiversity now, called Justice Incarnate. It is the bookend of Multiversity, where everything comes to a head. Anybody who's now introduced comes together to fight the Gentry.
The Gentry retreats, right?
Yeah, they do.
And throughout this whole book, they reference the empty hand.
Yes.
The empty hand is kind of the force behind all of this, right?
Yep.
And you're wondering what the empty hand is. And then you get to the empty hand. They follow the Gentry. See this big, kind of nebula-looking guy. Mm-hmm. Big, silhouetted dude with horns sitting atop a huge throne. All of the Gentry are working around him, and people are enslaved around him.
Mm-hmm.
So, clever readers might interpret the empty hand is the editor wanting more money. Give me more, Grant Morrison.
Sure.
More crises, more events, more cashola.
Mm-hmm.
More. Give me more. Empty hand.
Morrison.
And they do it.
I get you on that one.
So yeah, again, there's a shot of the hand reaching out to the reader, which is kind of a reoccurring theme too in a lot of his stuff.
Yeah. It even harkens back to Crisis on Infinite Earths, because they have they kind of tell how the anti-universe was made and how the universe was made in that book as well. And it shows an empty hand with a spiral of a universe being created inside of it. Yep.
I should read that.
You should. And
so they get to the empty hand, and they're like, "See ya." They just
pretty much
they kind of leave and fight another day, I guess. They just leave.
But, it says here, my legions await command. They feed and grow strong on the starry carcass of our previous victim, Multiverse 2. And so, being that we've only ever seen Multiverse 1. I'm seeing Grant Morrison going here like, if there can be multiple Earths, why can't there be multiple universes containing multiple Earths? And I just watched something today where he is introducing Multiversity 2.
TOO.
TOO. And I heard some of the stories he wants to go in. It's like a
Flash one?
A Flash story.
He's a big Flash fan.
Yeah, and a Batman story he's going to go in, which he says is going to be really bizarre for him.
Really? It ends with President Calvin Ellis recruiting a team of random people, Captain Carrot, etc., to combat these forces on all Earths, basically.
Yeah, they're like the multiversal Justice League, essentially what it is.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You can use that anytime you want.
I'll use it tomorrow when I talk to my mother.
And that's pretty much where it ends. And then it ends with Nix Wotan again, back in his human form, paying up his rent, which we never really touched on at the beginning.
Nope.
But he does.
Unimportant.
It is.
Well, they make a reference to like the termites in the building and like fleas and the landlord's hair and all this, and essentially like every being has something living on it.
Yeah.
And it keeps kind of going back. It's kind of that picture within the picture where you keep zooming in or pulling back far enough, and there's worlds beyond worlds.
I wouldn't expect anything less from a book called Multiversity. At
this point, you pick up a book by Grant Morrison, you should know what you're getting. You know what you're getting yourself into. Mm-hmm. It's like watching a Wes Anderson movie. Yeah. If you haven't liked him this far, guess what? This one isn't going to change your mind.
No, it's not.
It's like you either like it or you don't. Mm-hmm. And that's how it is. When I hear people, when they complain about Grant Morrison, it's like, if you don't like anything he's done, that's fine. Stop reading it. It's not for you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, he has huge ideas.
Yeah, ideas that no other comic book writer writes about. I mean, when I read a Grant Morrison book, I want to keep that high going at the same time too. Where it's like, oh man, what else could I read? After Final Crisis, I was like, oh, I get it now. I'm enjoying this. Mm-hmm. What else is like this? And the answer is only other Grant Morrison stuff.
Yeah.
There's no other writer out there that does what he does.
That's
to
true.
A fault or to a compliment. He's the only Grant Morrison. So if you like him, luckily he's got a big backlog that you can go to.
Yep.
What Grant Morrison book would you recommend for a new reader?
All-Star Superman.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I would say that might be his best thing he's ever done.
I would agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very accessible for everybody. Even though it does have stuff that harkens back to a lot of past stuff, you don't really need it to enjoy it. But you can go back and it just enhances your experience with the book.
And another nice thing, every issue of that is kind of a standalone issue while it's still building to an overarching theme. You could pick up issue 4 and it's just an enjoyable read.
Yeah.
I would say it's a lot like the Thunderworld Shazam issue of Multiversity, where it's just fun. It's just good comic book, old school comic book telling. Comic bookery. That's it.
There you go.
There it is. All-Star Superman is a safe bet.
Yep.
If you want to get weird and experience the entire Grant Morrison experience, read The Invisibles. Yeah. Which is essentially his fictional autobiography.
Yeah.
Where everything that made Grant into the man he is today is kind of incorporated into that book. Where he, tries out a lot of the ideas that have become very prevalent in his work, like fiction suits.
Yep.
And just weird shit like that.
Yeah.
He tries them out in The Invisibles first. And it's almost like, I think it would be a blast to write because it's like a diary of whatever he was doing at that time in his life.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Wrap it up. Final thoughts.
What was your overall reaction to Multiversity?
I liked it. I was amazed how well it was received for how weird it was.
Yeah.
The overall story is so bizarre. In typical Grant Morrison fashion. The individual issues are good. most of them are good. There's a couple hit or miss in there. But, yeah, I liked it, but I like Grant Morrison. He's an interesting dude.
Yeah.
Next level thinker.
That's an understatement. I really liked Multiversity on Reddit, and that's even after I read some of his other things that I wasn't a huge fan of. I was not a huge fan of Final Crisis. I feel like as big of ideas as it has, and if you can even simplify it down to its core idea, what they're trying to defeat and overcome, I feel like a lot of it fell short in the shortcomings of storytelling. But Multiversity, I felt like tackled a lot what I feel like you wanted to get across in Final Crisis. And it was like
a cleaner expansion on the idea.
Yeah, exactly it. But as we said before, we feel like he has this huge idea that he had to split out between. He used some of it in Seven Soldiers and some in Final Crisis, some in All-Star Superman.
Yeah, it's all the same idea. Yeah. Essentially.
And he's just trying to fine-tune that idea until he just nails it. And even though, like, All-Star Superman is great. I feel like it's one of his best works. Seven Soldiers is great. Final Crisis, I felt like it was maybe a miss. Multiversity, I feel like it was a hit. I liked it. You can't fault him on this huge idea that you can obviously tell he's taken a lot of time to create.
No, like, I mean, this is something where the entire point of the project is the filler.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's one of those things where, wouldn't it be cool if we had a comic where every issue is a #1 and they all take place in this big universe, and these are just snippets of stories, and then they all come together to form a wraparound.
Yeah.
Like, the wraparound is kind of the afterthought to make this actually work. The enjoyment comes from the filler.
Yeah.
And like, oh, you know, you don't like Society of Superheroes? Try this next one. That one's not your bag? How about this Shazam one? You know, like, something for everybody.
Yeah.
And like, a true comic fan can appreciate just about all of them.
I would say you were right.
That's gonna do it, folks. Play us out, Troy.
Well, I want to say that pretty much does it for this first inaugural episode of Imperius Rex. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the multiple parts of it. I am Troy to the Max Extreme.
Ghost Turner Dave.
And hopefully you join us next time for more Imperius Rex, where we go over more stuff about comics that everyone should enjoy.
And maybe something that someone's interested in reading next time.
That too.
Do you like this shit? Great. Go ahead and subscribe to us. There's going to be more. And the more we make, hopefully, the more polished they get. So you see less of me here and more of me there. If that makes any sense at all. But yeah, go ahead, follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like us on Facebook if you're feeling crazy. Whatever it is. Imperius Rex Show at the respective whatever. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Stay Rexy.